Welcome everyone, it's Doug Devitre here. Thank you for enrolling in the Elite membership for screen-to-screen selling. The purpose of this video is to give you a quick introduction of all the other videos that we're going to be producing for this series, so then that way you can kind of see what's in store. So first we're going to share what are some recommended apps that you need for screen-to-screen selling. So how do you save time finding some of the best apps? How do you connect the computer to your iPad, to maybe to the projection screen, and maybe even to other computers? We got a quick list that we'll share with you exactly how to do that. Also, one of the things that we've done within the modules is giving you access to an Evernote file, which the beauty of that is when you click on the different links within the Evernote file, it takes you right to the app so then you can quickly download it rather than going to Google and searching for them one by one. Also, there's going to be specific apps that you're going to use in very specific situations. And we're going to share with you not just what they are, but then exactly what the process is and how to be able to use one of those. Next, when you're working with clients or you have a meeting scheduled, how do you set it up correctly? So there can be a lot of mistakes that you can make if you don't understand how the apps work together, how the internet integrates to one another. So we're going to share with you common mistakes that we've made, and so then that way you can avoid making those for yourself. Next, when you set up a meeting, very similar to setting up a phone call, how can you avoid a situation where customers bail on you last minute? So there's some technology and there's a process on how you'll be able to do that. Next is, and using screen-to-screen selling, the internet connection is critically important. And there's going to be situations where you're working from the hotel or you're working from your office or maybe you're working from home, and having the very best internet connection is going to be critical, so then that way when you do share your screen, everyone's looking at the same thing at the same time. Next, we're going to share with you how to start a screen-to-screen selling meeting. So there's going to be situations where you're on the phone call with a customer and you didn't anticipate setting up screen-to-screen selling, but you want to set up an instant meeting. So how do you do that quickly without installing apps and specific software right there on the spot? We'll share with you how to do that. Also, from us doing this, I don't know how many hundreds of times, we've crafted the perfect language that you can use, so then that way customers are with you and not necessarily lost on understanding what they're supposed to be looking at. So we'll share with you that dialogue and also how to create that. And then finally, not like most technology, it doesn't always work 100% of the time. So then we're going to share with you how to create the backup to the backup of the backup. So in case you're not able to share your screen, how can you essentially have an effective meeting? Next, there's going to be visuals that you're going to want to create for your specific phone calls. So one of the questions you'll have is, are impromptu visuals, in other words, where you see somebody drawing on a digital whiteboard, are those visuals better than visuals created ahead of time? And we've got some research to be able to back that up, and then also share with you specifically how to do that. Now, where do you find some of the most attractive visuals for your screen-to-screen selling meetings? We'll give you some quick resources, but then not just where to go get them, but also how to be able to create them yourself. And then finally, one of the things that we like to do with our customers is we like to save them time and save us time by using some templates. So how can you create some screenshot templates that really, in the very end, they train your customers on how to buy? Next, we have a module on drawing visuals on the whiteboard. So essentially what that means is when you share your computer screen with somebody else, their screen now becomes blank. It becomes an empty screen of them looking at. And then it's up to you to be able to draw with pen, kind of like pen on paper, but now it's pen on screen, so then you start to follow along with the conversation. More importantly is when you're selling selling by telling a story. So when you have the visuals in place and you draw on the whiteboard as you talk, that will allow you to tell a story that's just much more effective, that it convinces customers to buy. And then finally, with every customer, they're always going to have questions. They're always going to have objections to either your sales products or your specific methodology. And we'll share with you how to overcome some of those frequent objections that they may have. So that way you help them make a better decision in the process. One of the technologies that we recommend is using an iPad, because it's many other people have an iPad, but that doesn't necessarily need an iPad for screen-to-screen selling. So how do you import those visuals step by step? So essentially, if you've worked with a PowerPoint presentation in the past before, we'll share with you how to create your PowerPoint presentations into images, which serves as diagnostic visuals to have those specific conversations. And then you're going to wonder, well, gosh, how do I get these images from my computer over to my iPad? So we'll share with you step by step on how to synchronize the images from your computer, so then that way they appear on your iPad for quicker retrieval. And then finally, you're going to have different types of customers, you're going to have different types of products, maybe different types of services. And with all the different slides and visuals that you have, how do you specifically organize them so you get to the right visual when the customer has a very specific question? So there's a step-by-step process we'll share with you on how to be able to do that. Now, one of the tools that we like working with our clients is a tool called Mindmeister. It's a mind mapping tool, and there's several others that are out there. It's just the one that we like and the one that we use. And so when we're having a screen-to-screen selling meeting, what we can essentially do is have the customer create the path and create the answer, so that way they feel like they own and are involved with the process. So what this is going to help is brainstorming with customers so they can choose the most appropriate alternatives. Essentially, this mind map becomes a roadmap for clients, so that way it helps them create their customized action plan. And then finally, it saves customers times, because what ends up happening is you give them the mind map, and then if there's links or there's images inside the mind map, it makes it a whole lot easier for them to be able to implement into their daily practice. Next is if you do webinars, which is delivering presentations, or they're even sales-oriented webinars, screen-to-screen selling is going to help you tremendously in being able to deliver those. So number one is how to engage your webinar participants by visualizing their needs and solutions. Essentially, if you have 100 people on your webinar, you're going to be able to draw on 100 different computer screens using this specific technology and methodology. Next is how to create impromptu additions. So there's going to be situations where you already have your slides in place, but if a webinar participant has a very specific question that it comes in the online questioning or chat window, you'll be able to pull up the digital whiteboard, draw on everybody's computer screen so they can follow along, and just makes it a whole lot easier rather than just running with slide after slide after slide and so forth. And then finally, how to draw on your slides to frame important learning points for your participants. So in other words, if you have a very complex slide that has a lot of content inside it, you'll be able to draw on your slide right there on the spot, so then that way people can actually see the very specific thing that you're talking about. Now, for quality and training purposes, one of the things you might want to do is record some of your screen-to-screen selling calls. So this can be good for a coach if you're working with a sales coach. This can be good working with your group or your team. So then that way, after you've had this call, you can start to tweak the process based off of what the customer likes and desires most. So what you'll be able to do is improve your sales calls by recording. You'll be able to record calls with subject matter experts, and essentially some of the recordings of the conversations can now be used to create content for your blog, for videos, maybe for a podcast. So it's a nifty way to be able to use screen-to-screen selling to add more content. And then finally, you'll be able to create videos from some of these screen-to-screen selling calls once you learn how to record them effectively. Now, let's say you're not going to involve video so much, but you're going to have a conference call with your group. What you can do with screen-to-screen selling is make your participants feel like they are involved in the conversation. So whether that's by writing their names on the slides or summarizing some of their key points on the digital whiteboard, they're going to feel like they're much more involved. And then next, with screen-to-screen conference calls, you'll be able to control the conversations that drive the objectives of the meeting. So if there's a specific individual who goes off on a tangent, you'll be able to take control of the conversation with the digital whiteboard. And then finally, you'll be able to create a trusted environment with your participants. Now, if you are using your website with your customers, sometimes having the conversation with them on the phone can be a little bit challenging, because you'll tell them to visit your website, scroll up, scroll down, scroll up, scroll down, and you never know exactly where you are. So what you'll be able to do is how to demonstrate your website effectively from a laptop or even a mobile device. A lot of the websites are mobile now, so being able to demonstrate so that people can see how your product solves their specific solution is critically important. Next, if you're, let's say you're consulting for them on their website, or maybe it's their copy, or maybe it's their graphic design, you can uncover some lost opportunities with customers on their website by framing it in a way that they've never seen before. And then finally, you'll be able to save a whole lot of time working with your customers by trying to navigate through your website. So if sometimes there's a lot of too much information on your website that people can't find what they're looking for, you will be able to use screen-to-screen selling to be able to shortcut that time quite significantly. And then finally, once you do make the sale using screen-to-screen selling, you'll be able to use the same technology to be able to support your customers. So essentially what you'll be able to do is save hours on the phone by solving customer issues faster. Very similar to online tech support, you will have the easiest technology and the easiest process to be able to answer those quick questions much quicker. Let's say if you're an attorney and you're working with complicated agreements, there's many paragraphs that you have to be able to analyze. Or if you're an accountant, you're doing financial analysis, and there's excessive contracts. Essentially, what you'll be able to do is highlight those agreements in real time, so then that way people can see what you're talking about rather than having them work from different PDFs, which maybe you've emailed them to previously. And then finally, you'll be able to use screen-to-screen selling for customer inquiries, for future help desk inquiries, or essentially help you create your frequently asked questions section for your website. Now, if you are a professional speaker, or you are in charge of professional development for your company or organization, there's going to be situations where you're going to want to draw on your slides or draw on the computer, so then that way people can see the concepts. So that's really what you'll be able to do, is engage your participants in a way that they've never seen before by asking them to complete activities that appear on the slides. And really what you're able to do is you're able to customize your presentation on demand for your participants. So rather than running through 50 slides that make an assumption that they need to know what you know in the order they need to know it, what you'll be able to do is go right to the specific issue and then solve it and then move on to the next one much more effectively. And then finally, what we're going to provide with you is a screen-to-screen selling assessment. Essentially, what we're going to be able to do is define the metrics to determine the most effective channels whilst selling, not physically present. We'll be able to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of your screen-to-screen selling and measure the customer satisfaction by their participation. So it's not so much you doing something to someone, it's how you work together to arrive at the most reasonable solution in the least amount of time. So this is all part of our elite membership of screen selling. You're going to have access to the video trainings. Essentially, this video was a summarization of the videos that will follow that show you exactly how to step by step. There's going to be role play exercises that you'll be able to model after. So when you're having screen selling calls with your customers, how to make it a whole lot easier as you go forward. We have the step-by-step workbook that shows you not just the visuals, but then the 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as using it for each one of these components that we've talked about. We have expert interviews set up with sales gurus who not just use screen-to-screen selling but provide additional insight on very specific industries. And then finally, we have a Google community where we can continue the dialogue. So make sure you go to screenscreenselling.com/elite to log into your membership, and we'll see you on the next video.